Coming up on this week's episode, we're talking Chelsea, Brighton and Everton, a transfer-themed quiz, plus a Who Am I, and more Wonders of White, so let's get started. Hello and welcome to a new episode of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here, and as always, Liam is here. Hello, Liam.
Hi, Chris. How you doing, mate?
I'm okay, thank you very much.
Keeping up to date with all the latest Chelsea comings and goings.
Yeah, I've got 3 phones, a TV on, just in case any more will go through. So we're actually recording this, what's it now, nearly 9 o'clock on Tuesday, so it's transfer deadline day, and I've literally now been waiting 24 hours for Enzo Fernandez to join Chelsea. And I've refreshed Twitter God knows how many times today.
Yeah, slow going, isn't it?
I'd say that, but I would say it also feels like it's been one of the busiest Januaries I think we've had for a long, long time.
Certainly for you.
I don't know if it's just from my point of view being a Chelsea fan, but there seems to be a lot of deals going on still.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like huge deals. I think Sabitz is about to join Manchester United. I think that's on loan.
I think so, yeah. They've not given him any money to spend, I don't think, have they, in this window? So everyone's on loan. But Chelsea have basically signed a new squad, pretty much, this window. It's not been as busy to be a Villa fan, unfortunately. We made our signings at the start of the window, really, Moreno.
Yeah.
And the only sort of interesting transfer news today has been players leaving us, or a player returning on loan. In the case of Bertrand Traore, he's going to be back at Villa Park.
Lost Danny Ings as well. So
we did, yes. We lost Danny Ings.
We didn't do a podcast last week, so that actually happened last Monday, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
he's already injured, so why break the habit of a lifetime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised actually that Villa let him go. I don't know the contract situation there. 2, I thought you probably could have got a bit more money for him. 3, the fact that West Ham wanted to buy him. It's just strange. It came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I don't know if you as a Villa fan had seen anything about him leaving, but
not until the day that it happened, really, or the day before that it happened. It was a bit of a surprise, but we like to keep people guessing in transfers. I mean, it was more of a surprise when we signed him. I literally had no idea that he was coming into Villa until the Villa app pinged up on my phone and said we signed Danny Ings. So we like to keep it close to our chest, but. He didn't have long on his contract, and he's 30 now, I think, 29, 30, something like that. So I think they just thought we'll cash in while we can, and obviously West Ham struggle for goals, so I guess it kind of fitted for both of them. But yeah, that's as busy as it gets for us. Not like you, not like Chelsea.
Yeah, we'll go into that now, I guess, with talking points. First one we are going to talk about is Chelsea. And the fact that since the summer they've signed a whole new starting 11, all under the age of 24.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at the players that he has brought in, some of them probably not as well recognised as what some Chelsea fans would have wanted, but I think you get a sense that they are definitely trying to build something here that's not necessarily going to pay off straight away.
It's the long term. Yeah,
and the fact I've seen a lot of people on Twitter moaning about how Chelsea are allowed to get away with, signing all these players when there are sort of fair play restrictions in. Well, I mean, it's just simple. They're just, they're paying them over a certain amount of years.
Yeah,
and that's how they're getting around it. It's not like a loophole. It's not, this isn't something that Chelsea have just discovered that you can pay a team in instalments.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that they've done it with 4 or 5 players in one sort of window that people are raising sort of, their eyebrows at, saying,
Yeah.
how are they going to pass financial fair play? But if you
It's
spread
also,
the cost of it,
yeah, and it's financial fair play is also taken into account years previous, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you had a whole window where you didn't spend anything because you were banned. So they have to take that into consideration. I mean, you must have made such a profit then because you would have sold players plus all the money you got coming in through tickets and, all the merchandising and things like that. So that must, I would have thought, come into it somewhere. It's not, I get that you've been spending a lot of money, but, you've only just got a new owner come in that's recently taken charge, and it's not like you've never sold anybody. You're I think transfer record over the last few years, you've been regularly getting 100 million in revenue plus for transfers out as well. So it's not like it's not being balanced, is what I'm saying.
No, yeah. So the total stands at just under 189 million in this window alone. That doesn't include the 260 million they spent in the summer. I think it was around that sort of mark, 230, 260. They have bought in a lot of players, and now, I think this is where it's going to start to kick off, because you'd like to hope that Graham Potter has had some form of, looking at these players before they've gone out and bought them. He was always he always had the right sort of staff with him at Brighton to, get, the best for your money from players. But it's probably a bit different at Chelsea where, we can spend 60, 70 million on one player. I mean, I don't know if you saw any of Mudryk against Liverpool when he came on. He looked very, very. He reminded me of how Hazard looked when we bought Hazard. He just reminded me of every time he got the ball, he was always thinking forward and always.
He's direct, isn't he?
He was up against James Milner. So
I
mean, Milner did take him out at one point because I think he just got so fed up of him, getting too far ahead of him. But he looked really, really good. I mean, we all saw what happened to Howie Felix, on his debut. He didn't really go to plan there. But Badashile as well. He's come in, played 2-3 games, kept clean sheets. He's looked really, really good. And then obviously we signed players because we haven't actually played a game for nearly 2 weeks now. Our next game's on Friday against Fulham, and you've got to think that sort of, a few of these signings will probably be starting. You'll probably get a mix of them on the bench as well, because obviously we've got Madueke as well from PSV, English winger. Looks very good. But yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how they all gel, because obviously there's a lot of turnover coming in.
It's going to take time. We've got Fulham coming up on Friday, and I'm under no illusion that it's not going to be an easy game. I mean, any game for us at the moment is pretty difficult, but he'll have time to maybe change the formation if he feels he needs to change the formation to try and fit some of these players in. I mean, and the big talking point today is whether the deal for Enzo Fernandez is going to go through. I mean,
could be a big one, that.
It's about 105 million is release clause, but obviously the sticking point is they are thinking of financial fair play with this one.
They don't want to pay it all in one go, do they?
They've asked for instalments, and I can kind of see on one hand why Benfica are sort of holding out. I mean, if it's not Chelsea now, it might be someone else in the summer that can probably put up the full amount. It's whether they're, willing to, to take the instalments. I mean, if they don't, Rui Costa he's no longer a legend in my eyes. But he's had a medical. I don't know if you saw on the news, or online, that he's had a medical over. Chelsea sent out people out there, and he's had his medical, and they're literally just
waiting for the fee.
Sticking on whether they're going to do it. I think they will. I think
they will. Yeah, they normally wait till the last minute.
They'll either change it to make it work. I mean, obviously they've sold Jorginho today.
Yeah.
which has created a little bit of money, 12 million plus his wages. There's talks of maybe Gallagher going. Remember Bakayoko?
Yeah.
Still a Chelsea player, but
Yeah.
apparently he might be moving to Lyon on a permanent deal. So you got to think that's going to be around sort of £15 million mark. If they do offload Gallagher, you're looking at another 45 million there. So it might be a case of they're going to have to. Oh, and Ziyech as well. We spoke about it just a minute ago before we started recording, but you'd like to think that's in the region of about 20, 25 million as well. So, if they were to sell 3 out of 4 of those names that I just mentioned, you're going to create around about 50 million, which you can then add on top of what the upfront costs that you were going to pay for Enzo Fernandez. But I think he'd be a really good sign-in.
I think so. I'm looking at your squad now, and I've just counted 32 players, Chris.
How long have you got?
Yeah, 32 players. That doesn't include anyone out on loan either, of which you've got quite a lot. Yeah. But 32 players, and maybe this is Football Manager lying to me. I think you can only have a squad of 25. I know you've got some injuries, but I don't think you've got 7 injuries for people that are going to be out until the end of the season. So I imagine some people are going to be unhappy to be left out of this squad. Some I can kind of see. I know you just signed that for Fana, but I think if he wasn't registered, I mean, he's only 20 years old. I don't think Chuck will make to be registered because he's under 21 maybe. But I think someone's going to have to miss out somewhere. So you've either got to get rid of people quite quickly, or some people are going to be unhappy. But yeah, the one sort of gap at the moment, obviously Kante's been injured. That Zakaria hasn't really played for you, and when he has, he's not done too much. So it's the centre of the park, isn't it? You've got Kovacic, and I mean, there's not many. Obviously, Mason Mount is sort of more of an attacking midfielder.
Gallagher playing there, and Chukwuemeka he started the last couple of games in midfield. I really like him.
Yeah, he's frustratingly good from an Aston Villa point of view.
There's something about him, it's probably not a good trait to have, but he makes it look very easy when he's on the ball.
So effortless, yeah, absolutely.
And it doesn't always look like he's giving his full potential, and I think they just need to. He reminds me of Pogba.
Yeah.
When he was at that age, and as long as they can steer him in the right direction, I think for what we paid, I think he's going to be a very, very key player for us, sort of in the future.
I think in 3 or 4 years, I think he'll be looking at starting at a big club. I think, but you're right, he's quite just chilled.
Very laid back.
He's really relaxed for a young kid as well.
Yeah.
On the ball, I think he's great. It's just the work off the ball, like you say, he does look a little bit lazy at times. Whether that's something that he can learn or whether he even needs to learn it. I mean, there's some players that look lazy off the ball that are still brilliant. I mean, I remember Berbatov just looked like he could never be bothered. There's some players that do make it work, but I think he's got a good career ahead of him, which again is very annoying from a Villa perspective because, he was ours and then didn't want to join. I think it's more the fact, first of all, that he's paid $100,000 a week, which I don't think anyone thought he would get at that age. And secondly, that he left Villa to join you guys for first team football. And he's not got much more.
Well, he's
a little bit.
He's getting it. He has got it in the last 2-3 games. I mean, I thought in the last game, who was it against? I've completely forgotten. My mind has gone blank now. But I thought he was man of the match. But
he's played 9 games for you in all competitions this season. He played 15 for us. Over 2 years, actually, by the looks of things. So, he played 13 games for us last year. So, probably about on a par. Maybe he
Yeah.
might get a bit more game time for you, but it won't be by much. I wouldn't have thought.
You've also got to remember they can only sign 3 more players on for the Champions League.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how and who he picks to go into that team. So, yeah. So, lots going on. Still lots to go on. And fingers crossed that they can get the Enzo Fernandez deal through before 11. They've got 1 hour 45 and I'm frantically refreshing Twitter probably every 5 minutes at the moment. Probably every 3 minutes come 9:30, 10 o'clock. But yeah, we'll move on to Brighton next. This is more of just an appreciation talk for them. I mean, probably out of all the teams in the Premier League, they seem to have the best eye of bringing players in at very low cost.
Yeah.
And selling them on very, very high. I mean, this guy that they signed in the summer, Caicedo,
Yeah.
slapping a 60, 70 million price tag on him, and no one's blinking an eye to say that's too much. Because the way he's performed when he's been playing for Brighton, if he was playing for Man United, if he was playing for Chelsea, people would be saying he's 60, 70 million pound player. So,
yeah.
I mean, you know, they've been very, very good. Last season, I remember when Chelsea played a few times, they were very, very hard to beat, Brighton.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people thought when Graham Potter left that they would dip a bit. But I think, you know, he's come in, he's studied the shit pretty quickly. And he seems to have got the players playing for him straight off the bat. And I think when you look at the weekend when they beat Liverpool, I mean, coming from behind as well is not easy.
No. And it wasn't a shock, was it? And that's the thing. It was not. I think going into the game, you know, if someone had said Brighton are going to win this, I'd have gone, on form. And, you know, judging by how both sets of players have been playing, I think they were probably actually favourites going into it. It's quite a turnaround. I mean, they had a bit of a wobble, I think, when Potter left. They went a few games without a win, but
it was 5 games when he left.
Yeah.
They went 5 games without a win, 2 of them draws. But
yeah, I mean, you mentioned Caicedo. I mean, that Matoma is different class. I think he's been a phenomenal find to pluck someone out of. I had a look before we started this. Kawasaki Frontale was his team. I mean, who's sending scouts out there? But Brighton are, and they're making it work. I mean, he was signed for a couple of million, and similar to Caicedo, I think if anyone was going to come in for him now, you're already looking at 30, 40 million plus. It's just, it's a model that I mean, Southampton used to use it, didn't they? They would sign someone relatively unknown. I mean, the prime example is Mane. They picked Mane from the Austrian league, I think it was, I think they paid a bit for him, like 8 million or something like that. Yeah. And made a profit.
Well,
teams do make it work. It's just whether it's sustainable.
They did it with Van Dijk as well, didn't they?
Yeah,
they bought
Van Dijk.
And got 70 odd million back for him. I mean, Southampton always had their youth academy to look for players to sell on as well. I remember, I think Walcott, was it Walcott?
Yeah,
Bale. Chamberlain, Bale. You know, they all
Chambers
learnt their trade down there, didn't they? And then
it's just there's going to come a time, I think, for Brighton where, similar to Southampton, it's all well and good if you're reinvesting that money into doing exactly the same again, and you keep on finding those players. Southampton eventually, I don't know whether it was down to luck or scouts moving to different clubs or what was going on, but eventually it stopped working because the players that Southampton were bringing in weren't the same level as the ones that they were selling. And that's all Brighton have to worry about. And I think it takes a while for that to happen because, you know, if they were to sell Caicedo now and and get the 40 to 50 million that it looks like they probably will get, that is essentially free profit for them. I think they only, is it 1.5 million they spent on him?
Yeah, 2 million, yeah.
Yeah. So that, I mean, you've got a high chance if you're going to buy another, I don't know, 10 players for £2 million, you've got a decent chance of one of them working out and you're still in profit. So yeah, if they can keep doing it, it's only going to be good for the future, but it's just finding the right players, I think. And at the minute they are. We'll just have to wait and see whether they can keep it up.
Yeah, I don't think it's always, great to be that sort of selling club, because like you said, if the tap runs dry, you will end up, a bit, like you said, a bit like Southampton. But I mean, you look at they're sixth in the league at the moment. They've got 2 games in hand on Tottenham above them, which they could surpass them and go into 5th. They'd only be 5 points off Manchester United if they win that game in hand. So, from their point of view, they must be absolutely buzzing. I mean,
yeah.
So their last games, they beat Liverpool, they drew with Leicester, they beat Liverpool 3-0 in the league.
Yeah.
Beat Everton 4-1, beat Southampton 3-1.
Yeah.
They've had some big wins. They beat Chelsea 4-1.
And they were unlucky against Leicester as well in that draw. I watched quite a lot of that game, and they were unfortunate. And they've got that big lad up front, Ferguson, who's 18, and it's scary that he's that size at 18, and like he's really putting himself about. But I assumed he was an academy graduate, but he's another one that they've plucked out from the Irish League, from Bohemians. He's another transfer that they've found. Yeah. He's the son of Barry Ferguson as well, apparently, according to, I don't know whether that's true, but according to Wikipedia, he is.
Right, Everton. So, basically, we've been meaning to speak about Everton for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, God, how long have you got?
We were supposed to talk about them last week, but we didn't end up doing a podcast because Lampard had been sacked. So, he's been sacked, and today they've just announced that yesterday they announced that Sean Dyche would be taking over. So a lot has happened in the last sort of 7 days for Everton, but I think getting Sean Dyche in, I think, is probably the best thing they could have done.
Yeah.
For stability. And I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing or what's going to happen. But he's been brought in to save them from getting relegated. That's the only reason he's been brought in, because I think if they were in a different situation, if they were sort of mid-table or 7th or 8th, I think they might have looked elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I think for a change, they've sat down the board and they've actually made a good decision, because I'm not an Everton fan, but I think a lot of football fans can see from the outside that the club isn't being run the best. Because you look at transfer history, we said Brighton have probably had the best about making money, off of players.
Yeah.
Everton have probably had Everton have bought players in for big money, and they've just not performed. And it's not like it's 1 or 2, it's consistently players that they've bought in for fairly big money.
Yeah, a lot of them have been.
It's not like that they're spending like Brighton have. They had the money to spend.
Yeah.
And it's just not happened for whatever reason. I mean, it's not worked out for Frank Lampard. I do feel sorry for him, because I think he took that job and they were already in a mess.
He was brought in to keep them up last season,
and he did, and I think he knew in the back of his mind, unless there was huge investment in the summer, that without that they'd probably be in trouble. And I think he even alluded to it after about 2 or 3 games in the season that there hasn't been that investment from sort of the people that own the club for him to go out and to buy players that he wanted. I mean, he bought in a few on loan. He bought in Connor Cody, didn't he, on loan?
Yeah.
But they didn't really have that sort of marquee sign-in, and I think that shot themselves in the foot. I know they've got things like, they're looking at building a new stadium, aren't they?
I think so, yeah.
They've started building a new stadium. I mean, if they get relegated,
yeah,
that's gonna take its toll. I mean,
tough to fill in a lower league, but yeah.
They're struggling now with pretty much, they've had small investment to buy players, but when the new stadium starts being built, that's a huge amount of their money is going to be invested in that.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be able to invest in a strong championship team to get them back up.
Yeah.
Because what you see is a lot of the teams that go down, they manage to keep hold of a lot of their players because, for whatever reason, they think that they can get straight back up. And that's probably credit to the team and the club itself. But with Everton, I think it's going to be hugely different because they have got big names in that squad that
I think
100% won't want to play in the Championship.
Yeah, I think it's a similar situation to when Villa went down. We'd not spent huge amounts by any means, but we'd got some players on probably bigger wages than they should have been. Mika Richards, Jolien Lescott, people like that. Richards hung around, but most of the other players left, luckily. But yeah, you're right about the transfers. I mean, this season they've received more than they've spent, which I think is, we mentioned financial fair play earlier, is probably down to that because they have, a couple of seasons before that been buying players that are probably considered average for quite high amounts, considering where they are in the league. Obviously, Anthony Gordon's only just gone today, so that counts towards their money in. But just looking at the transfers, I mean, Onana has probably been one of their best players this year. I think that was 35 million. But going back down, I'm going down in sort of chronological order. Mikalenko, 23 million. Ben Godfrey, 27 million. Allen, 23 million. Abdoulaye Doucouré, 22 million. None of them have been a success. Alex Iwobi, over 30 million. Moise Keane, 27 million. Andre Gomez, 25. Jean-Philippe Gbamin, 25 million. Don't even think he played for them, really. I think he only played a handful of games. Even further back, obviously, Richarlison, they made a good profit on. They bought him for, I think, 39, 40 million and sold him for a lot more to Spurs. Mina's 30 million. Kurt Zouma, they paid apparently 8 million to loan him from you for one season, which, I don't really Yeah, obviously Sigurdsson, 50 million from Swansea. Michael Keane, 28 million. Jordan Pickford, you could argue, has probably been a success at 28 million. Klaassen, 27 million. Walcott, 22 million. I mean, the list goes on. Cenk Tosun, £22.5 million. I can't name a game that he played in, to be honest.
This is what I mean. Like,
it's
half
just
those
so
players,
much.
Half of them don't even play there anymore.
Yeah, Yannick Bolasie, 29 million. Morgan Schneiderlin, 23 million. It's just, And this is going back now for 5 years. And, it's okay to have maybe one season where the transfer window doesn't work out. But when you've had, I've gone back now for 5 transfer windows. When you're getting to that point, that something in your recruitment probably isn't right. They bought Dwight McNeil from Burnley, and I don't really think he's done anything.
Even played?
Don't think he's played much. He may be injured for all I know, but that was 17 million, and I don't think he's done much. Neil Maupay as well is there, and he was only 12 million. It's a snip at 12 million, but I don't think he scored for them. They've got Idrissa Gueye back, and I think, did he get sent off the other day nearly or something? And he's just not good.
No. There's definitely a running pattern with the players that you've just mentioned there. It just seems overpriced. It's expensive. Look, every club has a limit on how much they can spend, but when you're spending 30 plus million on Alex Iwobi, there are there are some red flags there that
Yeah.
I think need to be addressed. I mean, whoever's agreeing to sign these players, because I'm almost certain that the players that you've just listed, 75% of them, the managers were there at the time. You think Carlo Ancelotti was there
Yeah.
within that time?
Benitez was
no
there.
no way he would have signed off on some of these players that they've signed.
No,
Not a
not
chance.
at all.
Because he's, if not probably the best manager around. When you look at the accolades that he's won,
Yeah.
that's still managing, he must have been there thinking, why am I here? Why are we signing these players that are no good? And I don't know. Hopefully Dyche comes in. I mean, he hasn't got really any time to make any signings. So
No, none of this window is going to be him, is it?
He's going to be stuck with what Lampard had.
Yeah.
And that was all about trying to get build confidence within that team and try and keep them up, which is going to be a huge task. And I mean, he spent a considerable amount of time at Burnley, but I can't see him spending that much time at Everton. No. I mean, if he keeps them up, that'll be job done, and then he can work on it. I mean, if they get relegated, you can't really turn around and blame him for it.
No.
I know he's got a decent amount of games to get results and to get them back up, the table, but he's inheriting a squad that's, well, you've listed them, so he's inheriting a squad, an overpriced squad, that don't play well together, that don't, when you watch them live, you can tell that there's just mistakes everywhere. And,
but I'm going to compare what we were talking about Brighton with their transfer policy and how they're bringing people in to sell for a profit. Yeah. Just going back a little bit further, I think, Everton were quite successful, I think, in the transfer window. I'm just looking back. Lukaku obviously signed for them. They paid you, I just had it here somewhere, £35 million they paid Chelsea. And they sold him to Man United for 80 plus. Ross Barkley obviously left for quite a big chunk to go to you guys. John Stones was 50 to 60 million, something like that. So they had the money there from those transfers. Yeah. And this is what I mean, that Brighton need to look out for, is buying the replacements, because I can't say they've ever replaced those players. And we're talking now 6-7 years ago. I don't think they've ever got a centre back that's replaced John Stones. They've certainly never got a striker that's replaced Lukaku, let's be honest. Calvert-Lewin's tried, but his form's, obviously he's got low confidence, but his form's massively dropped. That's the kind of thing that clubs need to look out for, because once you do that for a couple of transfer windows, it's a real struggle to get the right players coming back in, I think. And if they do go down, I think they'll have a chance of staying up with Dyche. Don't get me wrong, he'll organise them. But if they do, looking at what happened to Villa, it's going to be a 3 or 4 year project, I think, to get them back up again. Because if they're either going to have players that don't want to be there on big wages, or they're going to have to start from scratch. And either way, it takes quite a while to refresh that squad. So, they'll be hoping for their sake that they don't go down this year. And hopefully for them, if Dyche can keep them up, he'll have a bit of a better transfer window next time round.
Let's hope. Right, that's it for talking points. No news on Enzo Fernandez yet.
No, keep refreshing.
Keep refreshing, and it might happen. We'll be back in part 2 with some Wonders of White, a transfer themed quiz, and a Who Am I? So we'll be back in part 2. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this week's episode, and we are going to go straight in with the Wonders of White. So Liam, are you ready?
I am. Let's do
The
this.
first one isn't even a Premier League themed one either.
Oh.
So, Juventus and AC Milan have both lost a home game on the same day for the first time since 21st of March 1993.
Wow.
That was at the weekend.
That's impressive. Where have you dug that out from? That is gold.
AC Milan, actually, I think they lost 5-2. I also saw another stat saying they've conceded the most goals this month than they've ever conceded in any other month.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not looking good for either. Juventus have got a points deduction, haven't they, or something?
Yeah,
some
they
kind
did.
of
Yeah, they 20 points, I think it was, they lost. So the FA Cup holders have been eliminated in the fourth round in each of the last 3 seasons. So Arsenal went out in 21, Leicester 22, and Liverpool obviously against Brighton.
Don't win the FA Cup is the moral to that.
Yes.
If you want to win the FA Cup, don't win it the year before.
This is a Wrexham one, actually. Wrexham striker Paul Mullen is the first player to score in each of the first, second, third and fourth rounds of the FA Cup in a season for a non-league team since Colin Williams in the 84-85 season for Telford United.
Wow. It was a good game as well, actually. I don't know if you watched it at the weekend.
I saw it,
Absolute cracker.
Yeah.
Thought they'd done enough.
They were unlucky, to be fair. Yeah, just that last gasp, sort of 2 minutes, and never mind. I mean, I think it's going to be extremely hard for them to go out and do that again.
Yeah.
Especially away this time. So yeah. This one is about Mitoma.
Nice.
So Mitoma has completed 10 dribbles against Liverpool in all competitions this season. That's the most of any player. And half of them have come directly against Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't know why that. Sorry, I don't know why I had to add that bit in.
No, it's almost like they found a weak spot there.
Yeah. So he likes playing against Liverpool, especially when Trent Alexander-Arnold is playing at right back.
Don't get me wrong, if there are Liverpool fans listening, great in attacking situations, not so great when he's being run out. No.
Not a defender. I mean, he'd be really good in midfield. I don't know why they don't try him. Look, they're always complaining they haven't got any centre midfielders.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the passing range, and he's got the speed.
Even Southgate tried it for England, I think.
So why not just give it a go? Because defensively, he's terrible. Defensively, when you look at England right backs, he's not even in top 3 for me in right backs. So
well, Klopp works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. Anyway, enough bashing Liverpool, although I enjoy it very much. We're going to move on to this week's quiz, which is a little bit different. So I've got a list of 10 January transfers in front of me. I'm going to give you the choice of what information you want about the player, and then you're going to need to guess who the player is.
Okay.
I've got 5 bits of information per player, and you can have 3.
Okay.
Okay, but you're not allowed to choose the same consecutively, if you get what I mean. So if you choose nationality, club, and year, you can't use that same 3 in the next one.
Okay.
Okay?
I like this, yeah.
So, first one, you can choose nationality, club, year, amount, or position.
Okay. I like that. This is the kind of quiz that I enjoy. I am going to go with the year, the amount, and the position.
Should have said as well, they get harder as we go on.
Okay.
You've probably chosen the right 3.
Good.
So, the year was 2018.
Yeah.
His position is midfield. And it was for 142 million.
Yeah, Philip Coutinho.
It is Philip Coutinho.
I had to think for a minute there because there's so many options that midfield can be, and then I thought, yeah, that is classed as midfield. He's an attacker, but a midfield attacker.
So next one, same 5. So you've got nationality, club, year, amount, position.
Okay, let's go for nationality, club, and year this time.
Okay, so it's the club that he went to.
Okay.
I forgot to tell you that. So, Dutch, Liverpool, 2018.
Van Dijk.
It was Van Dijk.
Surely. Yeah. There's not many. It's not going to be Dirk out. That's a bit too late for Dirk. That's the only other Dutch player that I can think of that's ever played for Liverpool.
Number 3.
Is it Dirk out?
No. So nationality, team, year, money, position.
Let's go for team, position, and money.
So it was 60 million, midfielder, and he went to Shanghai.
Oh, that would have been, peak Chinese Super League time. I'm going to go with Oscar.
It was Oscar.
Oh, it could have been a few there. I got a bit lucky with that one.
Okay, next one. Same 5. Which do you want?
This time I'm going to go for nationality.
Yeah.
I am going to go for position. And what have I not had much of? Club.
This one's going to be you've chosen the combination on this one where it's going to unlock it for you.
Okay.
So it's midfield, Chelsea, and American.
Oh, it's got to be Pulisic, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Nice.
You chose the right combination on that one.
Got lucky.
Next one, which 5?
What did I not? I've got to make sure I don't pick the ones that I chose last time. What did I not choose? What 2 did I not choose last time?
You didn't choose the amount. No. Amount and year you didn't choose.
Okay, I'll go for amount and year and nationality.
This is the hardest combination you've picked.
Oh, God. Okay.
2018, 57 million, Spanish.
Oh, 2018.
Yeah.
Morata?
No.
Oh.
It was Laporte.
Oh, yeah, that is tough. I would never have got that.
Okay, next one.
Position, amount, and club.
Striker, 57 million, Atletico Madrid.
It can only be Costa, can't it? Diego Costa?
Correct. You could have actually, if you would have chosen the 6, because Costa and Laporte are both Spanish, both went in 2018, and both went for 57 million.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't even think about him in the last one either.
Okay, number 7.
We'll go with amount, club, and position.
56 million. Striker, Arsenal.
Aubameyang. It's got to be Aubameyang. Yeah.
I mean, the nationality would have given that one away.
Nationality would have given it away, yeah. There's only one player I know from that country.
Next one.
I'll go with nationality this time.
Yeah.
And I'll go with position and what have I not gone with? Club.
Spanish.
Yep.
Striker, Chelsea.
Can only be Torres, surely.
Is El Nino. Okay, next one.
Yeah, the less said about that, the better.
I quickly moved on from that.
I will go with year. I haven't had a year for a while, have I?
Okay.
I'll go with year. I'll go with position, and I'll go with amount.
Ooh, if you pluck this one out of thin air, I'll tell you what. You can win the whole quiz.
Okay.
2014, 37 million midfielder.
Oh wow. 2014?
14. Yeah.
Who would have moved around then? I am going to go with. God, I can't even think of any midfielders now. What an awful, awful group of three to pick. I'm going to go with. I'm sure he signed for Man United around then. I'm going to go with Ander Herrera as a guess.
You were close. You got the club is actually right, and the nationality is right as well.
Oh, it's Mata.
It's Mata, yeah. When he moved from Chelsea to Man United.
So close. I thought it was for 50-odd million. I thought it was for more than that.
No, only 37. I mean,
bargain.
We're pushing our luck a bit there, to be honest, anyway. Okay, and the very last one.
I will go with the year again. I'll go with the club.
Yeah.
And I will go with the nationality.
English, Liverpool, 2011.
Oh, that's tricky as well, isn't it? I've not really done myself any favours there. English, Liverpool in 2011. Andy Carroll.
It is Andy Carroll.
Oh, that was a stab in the dark.
Did you see it sending off the other day?
No, I did. I saw he got sent off.
Yeah.
I didn't actually watch it, but
yeah,
he's the only noteworthy signing for Liverpool back then because he was so poor. I mean, Suarez signed I think on the same day, but we'll forget about that.
So you got 8 out of 10.
Nice. I'm pleased with that.
There was 4 Spanish people in that thing, and the actual order that I gave it in is the most spent in a January transfer window. So the most ever that they've spent on players in a January transfer. That's the top 10. So Andy Carroll is currently going to be knocked out of the top 10 January transfer window.
If the deal goes through for Fernandes, I'm assuming.
Has anyone else? No, because Chelsea are going to dominate this quiz. If we did it again tomorrow, they bought Mudryk for 60, so he'd go in at 3rd. Enzo Fernandez would go in at 2nd. But Andy Carroll was 35 million, so he'd be 12th or 13th in the list.
Which doesn't seem like a lot today, but I remember back then thinking they definitely missed out a dot. I'm sure it's meant to be 3.5 million. It just seems
well, they've just
so
got Torres money, haven't they? So
yeah. Should we do Who Am I?
Yes.
Okay, I'll give you the option. Do you want to go start of the career to where they are now, because they are currently playing, or do you want to go the other way?
Yeah, just do start.
We'll go to the start. I'm not going to give you their current team for the moment, but I'll use it as a clue because you might need it. But if you don't, you don't. So, I think you're going to hate me for the first club. So they started their career at Tooting and Mitcham United. They then moved to Reading, and they went straight back on loan to Tooting and Mitcham United. And then they had several loan spells to Cheltenham, Southampton, Colchester and Sheffield Wednesday. They then signed permanently for Sheffield Wednesday, and then they moved to Nottingham Forest before moving to the club they're at now. And I'm going to be kind and give you the year that they started for Tooting and Mitcham was 2008. And they are still playing today.
Jesus.
It's a lot to take in, so I'm happy to repeat any information if you need it.
I think I've got Tooting, Mitcham, Reading, Cheltenham, Southampton, Sheffield Wednesday, Nottingham Forest. Is that right?
Yeah. So loan originally to Sheffield Wednesday and then went permanently. Then they went on to Nottingham Forest, and now they're currently at another club.
Sheffield Wednesday. I am going to have to take a clue.
Do you want their current side?
Depends. Is it gonna probably go with a clue for now that's not as obvious, maybe?
I will go with as of 2021 they are an international. They've played 7 games and scored 3 goals for Jamaica.
As of 2021.
Yes.
So there were a load of players that decided to be Jamaican, didn't they?
There may have been, and he may have been one of them, without giving it away.
Few. So if he scored 3 goals in 7 games, that would probably make him a striker or a winger. Do I just want to throw a name out? I'll throw a name out.
You're going to guess. Why don't you tell me his current club before you throw a name out? Correct. Yes. That is his current team.
It must be Antonio then.
It's Mikel Antonio.
He deflected, didn't he? He decided that he was going to play for Jamaica.
He did. He turned them down originally. I'm just reading his Wikipedia page. He turned them down. He
shouldn't be allowed another chance. I mean, if you turn them down, you don't come back.
He turned them down in 2016 because he wanted to play for England. Then he got called up by Sam Allardyce when he was England manager. Well, and then he never played. He was an unused substitute. And he also got in a couple of Gareth Southgate's teams and never played. And then, he was approached again a couple of years ago. And
if he had have played, would that have made it more difficult for him to move?
Yes. So, I think if it's a friendly, then I think you're allowed. So, Allardyce called him up for a 2018 World Cup qualification game.
So if he had played, in that, he wouldn't have been able to move over.
Yeah, if he'd have come off the bench, then he wouldn't have been able to move. But then Southgate called him up for a friendly against Germany, so that would have been fine. And then he called him up again for another World Cup qualifier against Lithuania, but he had to withdraw because he got an injury. So it might have meant him not playing for Jamaica.
So that to me tells me that he thought, when he had that chance of joining Jamaica in 2016, that he thought that he'd go on and be able to play for England.
Yeah.
Which he nearly did, I guess. So he was within a whisker of doing it.
Yeah. But so just a few stats on him. Obviously started out as a right back. I don't know if you knew this. So he didn't really score.
When he was at West Ham, he started as a right back, and then didn't he convert into like a winger? And then from a winger, he moved to being up top.
Yeah. So he's he's only found the net later on in his career. I mean, I don't think he's prolific, but he gets in double figures most seasons. So his last season was his best actually, 13 goals for West Ham. And then a couple of seasons before that, he's got 10 goals in each of those seasons. So he's played 255 games for West Ham now. And 67 goals. So he's. I only added him because I saw rumours that he might be leaving, and I thought it was a bit of a shame because he's been pretty consistent for them over the last few years. Obviously, they've had good seasons recently, and he's been a part of it. But even when they've been sort of at the bottom or sort of mid-table, he's always looked like he's been the one that's going to get them a bit further up. So that's why I included him this week.
I don't think they'd let him go. I think he probably might want to leave, but I don't think West Ham. I don't think they need to let him go.
I can't let him go yet because obviously Danny Ings is injured as usual. So
the other guy hasn't. Scamacca, he hasn't.
Yeah, he's not been doing much, has he? Yeah.
Well, that's it for this week, and Chelsea are playing on Friday this week. I always find Friday fixtures strange.
Can make or break a weekend, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's very dangerous to have it on a Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So hopefully within the next hour we hear that Enzo Fernandez has joined, but I think as time goes on, I think if Benfica were going to accept it, they would have accepted it about 24 hours ago. So unless something's changed, I don't think that that's going to happen.
No, I'm just seeing that Felipe has signed for Nottingham Forest from Atletico Madrid.
Strange. That's not a strange.
Another team that have bought.
They've bought
Another team have
20,
bought a lot of people.
30,
Yeah, lots and lots of people.
So are we agreed on the strangest transfer today? Is Matt Doherty going to Athletic?
I think so. They're going for Kieran Trippier round 2, aren't they? They're really going for the. They like an English fullback. Obviously, it worked well with Trippier when he was there last time. So
very odd. Very odd. So, yeah.
Or anyway. Marvellous Nakamba to Luton Town is not a bad one though.
He's up there. He's up there. I see they're playing tonight, Luton. I guess he wasn't playing. So
no, not quite, not in time.
Right. Anything else?
Not from me.
No. Well, we will be back next week.